All right, let's get to it. Normally I'm in the position of being between you and your favorite adult beverage. Fortunately today I don't have that problem. So my name is Alan Stern. I'm a technical solutions architect at Cisco, but the guys that really deserve the credit for this presentation are Piyush and Jag. They're the folks in our IT group that work tirelessly to make sure our stuff works, and it is a thankless job, so I want to go ahead and thank them for all the hard work they do. So, as you might imagine, we have a lot of IT endpoints and a lot of devices in Cisco. We are roughly 72,000 people across 97 countries, 29.4 megawatts. That's probably a small town. The number that surprised me was 203,000 connected devices. And I'm going to tell you that seemed a little low. If you think about it, 72,000 employees, that's less than 4 endpoints per employee. Many of us have many more than 4. So a lot of stakeholders, so there was a lot riding on this project on how do we do this data transformation and move into a single environment. Like everybody else, we ran into one big problem. We had data silos. And unfortunately, businesses don't operate in data silos, they operate as an enterprise. So we wanted to get to this single, unified enterprise data platform that would really give all the different business functions the ability to query the data across the different silos. And we'll talk a little bit about why that is and how we do it. So if you think about it, this is a great example with product development, sales, marketing, supply chain, service delivery, ops, and HR. The salespeople are always beating on the product development, we need more features, we need this feature, we need that feature, and we need it yesterday. But the product development folks, like my friend Han, are saying, well, what are you going to be able to sell? If I give you this feature, what can you give me? So there's not a single direction data flow, it's, I want metrics about what you're going to give me, and then once I give it to you, I want to know that you can sell it. And then of course the supply chain people definitely want to know what's coming from the sales forecast, and sales people are generally not great at forecasting. They tend to sandbag when it's in their best interest. So they still have to know because we've got to build a product. And of course the salespeople get upset if you don't have the product when the customers want it. And then on the service delivery side, it's really important for failure analysis. We don't want a single component failure to start affecting the entire product. We want to understand why products failed. The most obvious answer isn't always the one that's the real answer. And of course, ops, HR, and finance, security, there is the overarching theme. We've seen the damage in recent weeks of what can happen when there's a security breach, and it's critical that we protect not only our internal data, because that's our intellectual property, that's what makes Cisco, I believe, to be a great company, but it's also got our customer data. And we have to be good stewards of their important data. So there's a lot riding on this project. So the actual diagram of how, what it looks like now is less important than what we learned. And the big takeaway, as always, and this shouldn't surprise anyone, is the architecture matters. Spend the time up front planning what things will look like. Plan for what things will look like in the future, because how things are today is not what it'll look like in the future. A single security methodology isn't going to protect you. The criminals and the folks that want to do us harm are not going to go knocking on your front door. They're going to come at you on your front door. If it's unlocked, they're going to open it. If that doesn't work, they're going to come around and try to climb the fence in the backyard. So you've got to have multi-layered security in order to protect your environment. The other thing that's shouldn't be surprising is invest in skills and choose the right components. The folks that do this type of work are in short supply. So it's critical to find the right people, but you already have the right people in many cases. So why not invest in them and improve their skills, give them the skills they need to stay with you and take you on this journey. That's a much easier path than going out and trying to find mercenaries that can help you on this path. And choose the right components for what you're trying to do. There is no best component for any particular task. there is a best component for your environment. So that's also critical. So as you might imagine, we have a platform for this task. And boy, I wish I remembered to close Spark when my machine booted. At Cisco, we don't eat our own dog food, and that may surprise you. We much prefer to drink our own champagne. Champagne, to me, tastes a lot better than dog food. I've never tried dog food. I have no intention of doing it. So we rely on our Cisco platform architecture. These are architectures that we've developed through our business unit where they go out and they will test the components, ensure they work together, and ultimately, behind that, they'll drive a Cisco validated design, and that validated design is about 300 pages of detail on how to deploy a particular solution. So we are using our own research, our own development, and that's really critical. And this is what it looks like. So this is just one small component of it. We're going with a spine leaf architecture. This is a modern data center network backbone. So in this particular example, you see 2 spine switches, and then these are the leaf switches here, and then at the top of each rack, we have the Cisco Fabric interconnects. And if you're not familiar with what a Fabric interconnect is, I would encourage you to come see us in the Cisco booth. We'd be happy to explain to you what it does. But that's the brains behind what Cisco UCS is all about, what really makes us different than the other server vendors in the environment. Now this type of architecture allows us to scale to tens of thousands of nodes. So we can really scale this to whatever we're going to need now and in the future. UCS Service Profiles are the magic, as I said. And Service Profiles allow you to configure once and let the experts in your environment configure the network, configure the servers, and so on, all the way through the environment, and then you aggregate that, and when you go to deploy a server, you click a button. And you know that that 100th server that you're deploying is deployed the same way that first server was. So that there's never a problem with configuration management from that perspective. People are really bad at following instructions. You know, click here, do this, set that. It doesn't work well. With Cisco, we automate that inherently. That's native to our platform. That's what we do. So you take that, and the results for us were not surprising to us. VLANs, as you might imagine, Cisco's pretty good at VLANs. You saw that we took that time down from 2,000 minutes per server all the way down to almost 0, and all of these things drove to 0. The critical one to me is firmware upgrades. When I was in IT, we just didn't do them because it was too hard. With the idea of a service profile, I update the service profile, and then I can do rolling upgrades through my entire environment at a time of my choosing in order to ensure that I can move to the next version of software code or just stay in a supported fashion. And I'm having to go really fast because a complex project being delivered in 10 minutes is not an easy thing, so bear with me as I talk a little bit faster. So this is more accurately defining what the environment looks like. At the spine level, there's 12 spines, so we can scale out the leaves, and we can still get tremendous bandwidth. So we're now able to, we're leveraging 40 gig interconnects, so whatever the future brings us in terms of data, we'll be able to accommodate it. So what did we learn? Well, the one thing we learned as part of this spine and leaf is we used our own Cisco ACI. And this is our SDN fabric, and it gives us some really interesting things that we could do there that we couldn't normally do. So from a performance perspective, we saw this jump in the data processing on each job. We went from 40 gig to 160 gig. ACI, in doing this, allows us to define which endpoints can talk to which endpoints. So we're radically simplifying that, and we see this here. We reduced from 2,000 ACLs down to 10. That's a pretty dramatic decrease. And I'm going to go ahead and build out the next level in build. What we know is the more you can reduce complexity, the more likely you are to have a secure environment. Complexity is the evil people's friend. Simplicity is your friend in terms of securing your environment. And ACI allows you to do that. We eliminated hundreds of hours of planning and setup time for the ACLs. As we go to scale the environment, it's rinse and repeat. We're not having to go back to the network and say, hey, I need to add another server, I need to add another spine switch, I need to add another leaf switch. We can just plug them in. And because of the way this is automated, it allows us to get away from the configuration management process. How many have ever gone to a change management meeting? How much fun are they? Yeah, it's like having a root canal, because you've got to justify why you're making the change, when you're going to make the change, how you're going to make the change, and what your backup procedure is. So the more you can avoid that, the better off you are, and the faster your environment can move. So I'm running out of time. The key here is we give you that ability to make those changes quickly, in an automated fashion, and most importantly, we let you do it securely, and that's exactly what we did in our environment. So thank you all very much for your time, and have a great rest of your show.